Mama's in the living room watching Judge Judy. I'm in the kitchen eating leftover sushi. And she yells, oh, girl, you gotta hear this one. A man was arrested for running a theme park. And when they said, where's your license? He said, my dog ate it. Oh, you can't make this shit up. Sometimes I wonder if life's just one big cosmic joke. It's like she's on a Reddit, reading r/funny lawsuits, yelling from the couch. As she sips on a Prosecco, makes fun of all the weirdos, and then I hear her shout. It's like she's on a Reddit, reading r/funny lawsuits, yelling from the couch. As she sips on her Prosecco, makes fun of all the weirdos, and then I hear her shout, girl, you gotta hear this one. Mama loves to laugh at how absurd life is, says it's all a comedy and I'm her audience. And I love the way she makes fun of the world. She said, you'll never guess who's with their girlfriend. It was a man who didn't get us out of the bed. He said, I've been through hell and now I need some help. You just can't make this shit up. You just can't make this shit up. Sometimes I wonder if life's just one big cosmic joke. It's like she's on a Reddit, reading r/funny lawsuits, yelling from the couch. As she sips on a Prosecco, makes fun of all the weirdos, and then I hear her shout. It's like she's on a Reddit, reading r/funny lawsuits, yelling from the couch. As she sips on a Prosecco, makes fun of all the weirdos, and then I hear her shout, girl, you gotta hear this one.
All caps means you're either panicking or trying to represent yourself in court. Both are mistakes. Your feelings are adorable, but they're not admissible, persuasive, or even interesting without evidence. Yes, Heather hates immunity doctrines. It's a personality trait at this point. You don't need to remind her, she wakes up angry about it. Bring receipts. No, I heard it from so-and-so. This is Squid Pro Quo, not next door. Screenshots are statutes only. Don't fight each other. Fight the law. It deserves it more. If you're offended, excellent. That means you're awake, paying attention, and probably new here. No diagnosing the host. She's petty, not pathological. And don't diagnose anyone else. Stay in your lane, please and thank you. Do not summon the mods. They're tired, hangry, and may bite when provoked. Disagree loudly if you must. The algorithm eats drama for breakfast. Just keep it cute while you argue wrongfully. If you're taking screenshots of my chat, touch grass, tell your handlers. I said hi and find a hobby that isn't me.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Happy Monday. Happy Christmas week. Happy whatever the hell you want to call it week. I am absolutely feeling like crap, so we are going to get through this as fast as humanly possible. With that being said, we are discussing Trump's lawsuit against the BBC. I have the documents, so we're doing what we always do here. We're not getting into gossip. We're not getting into he said, she said, left versus right, red versus blue. I don't give a flying F who you voted for. What we're looking at is media editing under severe scrutiny in the form of $10 million. And before you wave your TDS pitchforks, if you allow something like this and what is being alleged, and yes, I have to say alleged, even though I saw your comment, Outpost Nerd, allegedly my ass, I get it. However, I'm covering my ass just the same way. You know how we roll here. We roll in facts, not speculation. I don't care what the subject is. I don't care who it's about. I don't care if they are loved or hated. We will give them the same fair treatment as everybody else. Because here's the thing. If you're comfortable with something like this happening to someone you dislike, you've just signed off on it happening to someone you like. I treat every case the same in the sense of when I read documents, I give every party the benefit of the doubt until the facts prove me wrong or lead me a certain direction. Some of y'all hate me for that. Some of y'all love me for that. Frankly, it's what I do, and it is what it is. So before the chat warms up, waves your pitchforks at me, your proverbial TDS pitchforks. I've had people rage quit over TDS, and they've come back and they've rage quit again over TDS. So before somebody comes back and rage quits a third time, I'm going to make merch from your face. All right, let's get into this, guys. We're going to read what was actually filed, the entire contribution. And the minute I hear, but Trump said, or but Trump is, you're getting timed out, because we're not going after the people. We're going after the words on the page, which is funny to me. But the thing is the people who rage quit for a certain issue that happened back in like January or February are now seeing what I saw back in January or February, but still won't come back and apologize to me for calling me like all sorts of fucking names under the sun and making me out to be this horrible person, when now you are seeing the exact same thing I saw. I just saw the behaviors first. And if you know, you know. If you don't know, I'm not saying. But I just think it's funny at this point. But I would love if those people like a certain car, someone with the name of like a certain car, would come back in the chat. She's welcome. She knows she's welcome. I just saw the behaviors that you are seeing now. I just saw them a year ago. Which doesn't make me any better than you. It just makes me smarter. All right. Let's go. I'm figuring some things out and seeing some things that people are writing now in different chats and different like groups, and certain people are making videos on YouTube, which is very enlightening. And when I'm seeing it, I'm like, oh, I figured that shit out like a year ago. Welcome to the club. I'm sorry you got attacked too. However, welcome to the club of people who saw the raging narcissism a year ago. It's a petty club to be in, but here we are. Love the ponytail. It's called I didn't wash my hair this morning because I feel like ass. And I'm going to try to keep my phlegm to myself. So if I all of a sudden mute mid-sentence, it's for your own good, not mine. Hey, outburst nerd. They're late to the party. Yeah, day late and a dollar short, but they are welcome here. I hold nothing against them. I hold nothing against them. I hold nothing against them. I hold no ill will, because the thing about it is holding a grudge takes too much fucking energy. And having a chronic illness and 2 YouTube channels, a business, a fiance, and a toddler, I don't have the energy to put into people who are on the internet. It's just funny. At this point, it's laughable. Yeah. I cannot believe I came late to the party and enjoying the Apple ecosystem. I have used Apple all my life. And someone who had an Apple IIc in 1988 when I was 3 years old, I have used Apple my entire life, and I have the only systems that I have never had an issue with viruses and or breaking things like phones. I've had other phones besides an iPhone. Other phones broke. The software wouldn't work, wouldn't various, like, I had a phone that went into airplane mode randomly by itself and wouldn't come out. I've never had a problem with an iPhone besides the fact that they just get old and they decide they don't want to update the software. Other than that, I've had Apple for 37 years and I've never had an issue. Other than the fact that they used to not write software for Apple, but we're beyond that. I do. I'm petty like that. I was up at 4 a.m. all itchy because apparently I'm allergic to my own sweat. So I am too. I tried to watch someone stream the other day and I sent a picture to a couple of my friends because I was trying to watch somebody stream the other day and I literally broke out in like, I have dermographism. So I have like a writing skin disorder. You scratch and I'll be able to see where, where my nails were, and I'll welt. Well, my legs were all welted to the point where I sent pictures to people. And I'm like, this is what that person's stream, listening to voices of people that I don't like, does to me. Like you can see that starting to welt. So, I'm allergic to my own skin as well. So I hope you get to feeling better. This is that same crud that I've literally been fighting for a month. And it's been like on the verge of getting sick, but not really sick for like a month. And now I woke up yesterday with a sore throat. So I got my little Ricola honey lemon, and they're nasty, but they work. I just feel like I want to hawk up a loogie every 5 seconds, which is awful. All right. So we're going to get into this now. I wish these streams were as popular as the drama streams, but they're not. This was filed in the Southern District of Florida, Miami Division. President Trump as an individual, not in his capacity as president, that's important, versus BBC. Plaintiff President Trump, by and through his counsel, brings the action against defendants British Broadcasting Corporation, aka the BBC. BBC Studios Distribution, BBC Studios Production, collectively the defendants, as follows. This action concerns a false, defamatory, deceptive, disparaging, inflammatory, and malicious depiction of President Trump, which was published in a BBC Panorama documentary that was fabricated and aired by the defendants 1 week before the 2024 presidential election in a brazen attempt to interfere and influence the election's outcome to President Trump's detriment. One thing that I'm interested to see how all this shakes out was because I saw the clip. It was heavily edited. And when I say heavily edited, I will see if they have links to it in here. Otherwise, we will look it up. But it was heavily edited. And for the people who in this country don't go searching for alternate sources of media and believe everything they see on the internet. They edited together a clip that literally took statements from the beginning and the end of a speech and put them together like they were seconds apart instead of 20 minutes. Can you imagine all the context in the middle that they missed? It's a big one. Yeah, I thought it was 2 different videos. That's how heavily edited it was. Yeah, it's it's ridiculous. And this is what my original thought process before I derailed my own thought process was foreign interference in elections has been a thing since Russia in 2016. Where does it go? Britain. And where do certain people be held accountable for letting the BBC broadcast or have cameras on American soil? It's an interesting international incident. Yeah, someone has really big balls to do something like that and get away with it. Well, the thing about it is, okay, you know how just because you can sue doesn't mean you shouldn't sue? We've talked about that on the channel, and sometimes I feel like that about President Trump, the same way I feel like that about Jeremy. Yes, I just compared Jeremy Hills and President Trump. Clip that, will you? You want to FaceTime Grandpa? Okay, hold on. Hold on. She just called my dad. So, um, uh, I'm convinced that not just because you can, you have the means to sue somebody doesn't mean you should. However, there are times when you definitely should sue to prove a point. And I am under the full belief that this right here is one of them. Yes, baby squid break. She's obsessed with calling grandpa. She knows how to do it. She just comes to me and I'm like, if she wants to call grandpa, she can call grandpa anytime she wants, you know? Um, but if you want someone to see um, this full document that you believe is under the impression that this is full of crap, and the president is full of crap, please share this stream out. Because I would love we have 19 people in here right now. I would love for 75, 100 people to be in here reading this with us. In the BBC Panorama documentary titled Trump, A Second Chance. Sounds like such a nice title. Which was first broadcast on October 28th, 2024. The BBC intentionally and maliciously sought to fully mislead its viewers around the world by splicing together two entirely separate parts of President Trump's speech on January 6, 2021. The Panorama documentary deliberately omitted another critical part of the speech in such a manner as to intentionally misrepresent the meaning of what President Trump said. Hey, you. Everybody wish Mama Squid a happy birthday. It was her birthday yesterday. The Panorama documentary falsely depicted President Trump telling supporters, quote, "We're going to walk down to the Capitol. I'll be there with you, and we fight. We fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore." Falsely depicted at 33:53 of the documentary. President Trump never uttered this sequence of words. Yeah. This fabricated depiction of President Trump during the speech was false, deceptive, and defamatory, given that President Trump's actual and full remarks during the speech were listen to this carefully. This is important. Important. Now it's up to Congress to confront this egregious assault on our democracy. I really hate that he called it a democracy too, because we're not a democracy. We're not. There's a difference between a straight democracy and a constitutional republic. And after this, we're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you. We're going to walk down. We're going to walk down. And I want you, or not, anyone you want, but I think right here, we're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women. And we're probably not going to be cheering much for some of them. Remarks made January 6th, 2021, 12:12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 14 minutes and 52 seconds into the speech. And then much later, but I said something's wrong here. Something's really wrong. Can't have happened. And we fight. We fight like hell. If you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore. Remarks made January 17th, 2021 at 1:07 p.m. 1:07 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 69 minutes and 30 seconds into the speech. So they started, this one clip was started at 14 minutes into the speech, 14:52 to 69 30. Outpost Nerd, we were both wrong. It wasn't 20 to 30 minutes. It was 45. Or 55. 55. Jesus. Like, sweet Jesus. Bless his heart. Like, oh my goodness. An hour apart. Like, 12:12 to 1:07. What, 50 some odd minutes apart? What? Excuse me. You put that in a 30-second clip like it's the same thing. Not even my editing is that bad. And that's saying a lot. Sweet Jesus. Oh, and they have the thing. So the 2 footnotes, first published by defendants October 28th, 2024, with a runtime of 57:54. And the speech was 70 minutes and 53 seconds in length. Happy belated birthday, J. Katie Buck. Moreover, the BBC purposefully omitted that President Trump, stating less than 1 minute after urging supporters to cheer for their senators and congressmen, "I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building peacefully and patriotically to make your voices heard." He even put that on Twitter, which is one of the reasons that I believe they took away his Twitter, because when you take away your Twitter feed, that goes away. Hi.
Guess who called me?
I know. I'm working, so I gotta go.
No, it's fine.
So, hi, chat. Say hi, chat. All right, I'm gonna get going. She likes to
That's
call you, but then doesn't like to stick around and talk to you.
Okay, well then hang up.
Okay, bye. Love you.
Bye. Love you too.
Welcome to my conversation with my father. She calls him and then walks away. Remarks made January 6, 2021 at 12:13 p.m. 15 minutes and 48 seconds into the speech. As set forth in damning and recently leaked BBC internal whistleblower document, this I didn't know about. The BBC intentionally used Panorama documentary to maliciously, falsely, and defamatorily make it appear that President Trump explicitly called for violent action and rioting, and that he said something he did not, by splicing together footage from the start of the speech with a separate quote that he said nearly 55 minutes later, while omitting his statement calling for peace made less than 1 minute after his first statement on urging supporters to cheer their senators and congressmen at the Capitol. Such distortion of the president's speech by the BBC materially misled viewers. Moreover, the Panorama documentary concerns about the Panorama documentary were raised internally before its dissemination, but the BBC ignored these concerns and did not take corrective action. I wonder why. Oh, I wouldn't miss a story like this. To hold media accountable. I love when media gets called out on their bullshit. It's part of the reason that I started this channel, is because I was tired of seeing the media distort things and people soak it up like it's the truth because the media said it. CNN said it, or Fox News said it. Everybody has a narrative. I read documents and I read articles because I don't have a narrative. Except for opening people's eyes to what's actually going on versus what they think is going on. The instance of doctoring in the form of distortion of meaning and splicing the entirely unrelated word sequences is part of the BBC's longstanding pattern of manipulating President Trump's speeches and presenting content in a misleading manner in order to defame him, including fabricating calls for violence he never made. Today's money grift, the bullshit fund. Yeah. Or here's what it is. It's saving up to start my LLC fund. Because I spent way too much on Christmas gifts this Christmas. My credit card bill is dangerously high. Dangerously high. BBC faced with overwhelming and justifiable outrage. Hold on. Footnote. I forgot to footnote. I usually wait till the end of the paragraph with footnotes. That way I can finish a thought. I just forgot to go back. The LLC fund. Yeah, and I don't know exactly how much it costs, but with starting my business, and I want to start virtually training people in corrective exercise. Part of the reason that I started that link tree and the other channel. However, I am more likely to be reputable and be seen as reputable if I have an LLC. And I'm covering my ass getting an LLC and protecting my family. According to my lawyer. Gordon Rayner revealed the devastating memo that plunged the BBC into crisis. The Telegraph, November 6th of 2025. And I will be doing a follow-up stream where we will be going through all of these. We might do a members only where we watch the BBC's documentary because I kind of want to see it, but they're going to copyright strike me, so I'll do it members only because that, what would I call my LLC? Probably evidence through motion. It would be the other channel. So, all these cough drops are god awful. Whoever decided to put honey and lemon together, awful. Ugh. The BBC, faced with overwhelming and justifiable outrage on both sides of the Atlantic, has publicly admitted that it's staggering breach of journalistic ethics and apologized, but has made no showing of actual remorse. Yeah, because here's the thing. People only apologize on the internet to get viewers back and clicks back. There is very few times when people put out apologies, especially written apologies. If someone has to write an apology, they didn't really mean that shit. I'm just going to tell you, like, how often do you see someone's apology and you're like, that is not an apology. That person did not mean that. That person was forced by their PR team, by their advertisers. Like, Whoopi Goldberg has to fucking apologize every other fucking week for stupid shit she says on TV. She has to read those lawyers' memos of corrections because she screws shit up every week. Sonny Hostin has done it quite a bit too. Those aren't apologies. They don't mean anything. They were reading what the lawyers told them to read so they don't get sued. When you see an apology like that, nobody means that shit. That is not genuine. That is I'm doing it for my bottom line because I'm going to lose money if I don't make it look like I'm sorry. Like, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry, but I'm not sure why I'm sorry. My thing is if someone asks for you or someone apologizes to you, it doesn't really matter what it is. If someone apologizes to you, this is what you do. You ask them, why are you sorry? Like I talked to the little one, she says sorry. It's a teaching moment for her because she's 3. Why are we sorry? Because when, her dad or I say, okay, say you're sorry, all she does is repeat us because that's what she knows to do. Repeat what we say. But she doesn't actually understand why she's apologizing. So, same goes for adults. If you really want to see if they're genuine or not, because that's when you will get a response like my mother-in-law, I'm sorry, but, and if someone ever says, I'm sorry, but, they ain't sorry. They're justifying. Yeah. Yep. It's their checkbook talking, not them. It's always that. And hey, Joe. It's always ask an adult. That could be your spouse, your best friend, a stranger at the grocery store. Like, "I'm sorry. What are you sorry for?" I ask my mother this all the time, and my mother in the chat will tell you, because she says sorry for, like, calling me when I'm streaming or calling me when I'm trying to record a video, and she'll say sorry, and I'm like, "What are you sorry for?" Like, another creator called me the other day to discuss something with me, and they apologized to me for as I was recording a short when they called me. And I was like, what are you apologizing for? You did not do anything wrong. How are you supposed to know what I'm doing? You're not stalking me. You're not spying on me. How are you supposed to know? Don't apologize when you didn't do anything. We have this overabundance in society, and this is just my tangent of apologizing when we didn't do anything wrong because we think it's the polite thing to do. I always tell people, I'm like, "Y'all don't apologize. You had no idea." Like, they'll call me and I'll say, Sorry, I couldn't talk to you. I was on the phone." And they'll be like, "Oh, sorry." How are you supposed to know that my dad called me at the same time that you did? Like, don't apologize. Ugh. Saying "but" in any way, shape, or disregards the saying that came before it. Yeah. But the word that holds us all in suspense. I'm sorry, but it's like you're really good at your job, but yeah, when people are apologizing, especially media members, uh, and they're doing it publicly, they're generally forced to, and they're doing it to cover their own asses because their lawyer made them do it. But has made no showing of actual remorse for its wrongdoing, nor meaningful institutional changes to prevent further journalistic abuses. Thanks for your patience with me. Good job, Squid. Teaching right out of the gate. Words and meanings do matter. Well, everything's a teaching moment, whether it's an adult or a child. Like, and I'm not trying to say adults are like children, but it, words do matter. Yes, there's a point to where sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That's understandable to a point, but words and how things are written and how things are said do matter. Especially within families, communities, groups. So, I think words do matter. How words are written on a page matter. Um, Accordingly, President Trump brings this action for compensatory and punitive damages for the extensive reputational harm inflicted on him by the defendants. And here's the thing, some people are so focused on this. Um, some people in the world are so focused on this speech and this date, like this is the date that will live in infamy for them. Even though it was not nearly as bad as some other questionable things that have gone on in this country in the last 5 years. With that being said, there are people who still quote this and what he said as if it's fact, even though it's been debunked, like the Charlottesville thing. When there are good people on both sides, that's not what was said. That's what was taken out of context. He was talking about the protesters. It's it's one of those things of people, even when presented with fact, will not change their mind. That is the society we live in. So it makes what is said even more important. Like when you like the Charlie Kirk thing, when people are like, well, he's my mom's boss, the racist bitch is still, and my mom's boss is black. So if that tells you when she's racist, like my mom's boss is a racist bitch who's never lived out of this county in her entire life. still says Charlie Kirk is racist. Even when presented with a video of what he said, she still misquotes him. Still misquotes him. Well, he said this. You're presented with a fact and you still believe in your own mind and something that's not factual. This is the world we live in, but yet she has the balls to call my mom naive. If you ever see this, I'm trying to be nice, but if you ever see this, I have words for you, and they're not nice words. But, like, when you've never lived outside of this county, it's like it's one thing to not live outside the state of Georgia, that has happened to people, it's fine. But when you've never lived outside this county and you're, like, 50 some or 60 some years old, and you have the balls to call somebody else naive. I lived in the same general vicinity as Kyle Rittenhouse, and there are people up there who still think that he shot black people, that live in the same damn county. Even when presented with fact, are still like, cannot unbelievably yes. That's when she only see what she wants to see. Yep. Yeah. It's one of those situations when people are so stupid, but yet they call you stupid. It's like, no, bitch, that's not how this shit works. Yeah, it's there, and there's a bunch of people like this, and there's a bunch of people like this that have social media. There are people like this all over social media. It's like when you're presented with facts that you can't see, like, it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to say, "Hey, I was wrong." Like, that's part of being a mature adult, and having healthy relationships with the world and the people around you, is you're not always right. It's just weird. And that's one of the things that I will never understand about people is, like, people that have the balls to call me brainwashed, but when presented with a fact are still, and video evidence are still, but it's like, you call us the cult. Yep. Like, it's just, you know. Oh, and Kenosha was burnt to shit. I drove through that area. I lived there before. That was around where I lived before I moved here. I drove through Kenosha after the Kyle Rittenhouse crap. Um, it it was burnt to hell. It still is burnt to hell 5 years later. There are still areas of Kenosha that have not recovered from those riots. No, you cannot call grandpa again. Fine, call him. You know how to do it. I'm not doing it for you. Yeah, I've never lost a friend for being conservative, but I've had liberal friends drop me fast. Yeah. It's funny how that works. Like, I've never dropped a friend for voting for someone different than me. I question them on why they did it, and sometimes I think some of their decisions are silly, but I've never called them any names, or I haven't dropped them as friends because I'm an adult, and you can have differences of opinion and be okay. But there are people literally online telling people not to talk to friends and family because they voted for Trump. It's like, that's what Scientology tells people, that you're not a Scientologist, so you can't talk to, you know, you're a Scientologist, you can't talk to your friends who are or friends and family who aren't Scientologists. Like, that's cult behavior. That's cult behavior. Just saying. Plaintiff President Trump is a citizen of the U.S. Parties, we know, defendant BBC, British corporation, established royal charter and operating under agreement with the UK's Secretary of State for Culture, Media and Sport, with its principal place of business in London. BBC produced a published Panorama with other defendants, its subsidiaries, as well as its production partner, October Films, and its international distribution partner, Blue Ant Media Corp. Defendant BBC Distribution Limited is a British corporation. Another BBC Studios Production Limited, British corporation. It's all British. Jurisdiction. This court has jurisdiction over this action pursuant to 28 U.S. Code 1332A. The parties are completely diverse as President Trump is a citizen of Florida, while all defendants are citizens of the UK. And the amount in controversy exceeds $75,000, exclusive of interest and costs. The court possesses personal jurisdiction over defendants pursuant to Florida Statute 48.1932 because defendants, during the operative period alleged in this complaint, engaged in substantial and not isolated business activities in Florida, and more specifically in this district. Defendant BBC publishes online news reports, editorials, and other media content at bbc.com, which are regularly accessed by individuals in Florida. This was a question as to jurisdiction in yet another case that we are covering, the case that gets like 80 to 100 and to 200 to 300 viewers at a time. When you are publishing something online and someone in another state is watching, that is interstate commerce or international business. When you receive a super chat or ad revenue from someone viewing in another country, that is international business. Welcome to Interstate Commerce and Business 101 with Squid. I am not a business major. I am not smart in that sense at all. However, common sense is common sense. So when someone is in, say, Wisconsin, but communicates and streams with someone in, say, Florida, there's your interstate commerce. There's your jurisdiction. Have a nice day. The BBC operates in the U.S. not as an abstract concept, but as a constant manner. The BBC has a concrete and continuous presence, including in Florida, where the BBC maintains an office. In Coral Gables, BBC Studios America, a BBC subsidiary, also operates out of this location. The BBC also intentionally, purposefully, and continuously transmits new content and other information into Florida through its multiple websites to avail itself of the Florida market and its millions of subscribers and broader audience. For example, the BBC offers web pages entitled Florida BBC News and Florida BBC Weather. Among others, the BBC also offers web pages specific to cities in Florida. Additionally, the BBC offers subscriptions to individuals in Florida and as a result has thousands of subscribers in Florida. Why? I'm not really sure, but to each their own. Any individual in the U.S., including Florida, can pay for a subscription to the BBC's content and services. Hey, Kasha. Speaking of Florida, how are you? Individuals in the U.S., including Florida, also have another option for consuming content produced by the BBC, BritBox. BBC subscription streaming platform. BritBox is available in the U.S., including in Florida, and has thousands of subscribers in Florida. BritBox offers American subscribers, including Floridians, access to a substantial amount of the BBC's original content, including Panorama. Accordingly, BBC has engaged and continues to engage in substantial, not isolated activity in Florida. Look at all those links. BritBox. In addition, this court possesses personal jurisdiction over defendants pursuant to Florida Statute 48.193.1A1 because defendants operate, conduct, engage in, and carry on a business in Florida or have an office or agency in Florida. Oh, those damn laws. Florida Statute 48, 193, 182, because defendants committed a tortious act as stated herein, and C, Florida statute 48, 193, 1A6, because defendants caused an injury to President Trump within Florida arising out of an act or omission caused by defendants in Florida. While at or about the time of this injury, product and services provided by the defendants were used or consumed within Florida in the ordinary course of commerce, trade, or use. And Gail, thank you for the $10 super chat. This is your LLC Squid. Merry Christmas. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas to you as well. Oh, KU Thunder. Where have you been, sir? How have you been? I love my state sometimes. And it's good to see you, Outpost Nerd. How are you? And Gail, thank you so much for ensuring I don't work for free today, because these documents cost me $4.30. So thank you for paying for the documents today. We're about even with the 30% that YouTube takes off the top. We broke even. Appreciate you. And if you haven't hit that like button or shared this out, even if we get the TDS people in here, I'm kind of want them to see this. Okay, come here. I have to go do mama duties. I will be back in a hot minute and a half. Thank you for your cooperation. I appreciate that. Diaper change and a snack. And Kasha, thank you for the $5 super chat for Baby Squid Fund. You are awesome. Mama duty's activated. And thank you for being understanding as the fact that I and Mama first, YouTuber second, because I love you guys. But however much I love you, I love her more. Sorry. It's the way we roll around here. Is that an upside down foot on her mama engaged? Hold on. Let me it over and over again. Growing up, I just saw another person, government starts pointing out the difference, people fight each other. It diverts our attention away from Washington and our politicians. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And it's not that I don't appreciate the differences in people. However, we need to realize that we are people first, and our differences are a part of who we are. It doesn't define who we are. Like, okay, so Flux, love her. Love her. She is Flux. She calls herself the like token lesbian or whatever. She is not Flux the lesbian. She is Flux, YouTuber, friend, hilarious gamer who happens to be a lesbian. It's not it's a part of her personality, it's a part of who she is. It does not define her. Me, I don't go, "Hey, I'm Squid." I do say I'm a stay-at-home mom because that is like my main job right now. However, I don't go, "I'm a white female." Like it's not the color of my skin doesn't matter. And this right here, racism is taught. Our neighbors have 3 kids and they're like cousins with the kids across the street. The little was out there playing with them yesterday and giving them all hugs, and they were throwing the football with her, and she thought that was the greatest thing that she's ever done in her entire life. They are black, she is not. Racism is taught. Kids are kids. We teach differences. They don't see differences. They see someone my age, someone that I can be friends with, someone that'll play with me. That was the perfect example because she loves she loves trying to throw the football with the boys next door. It's just racism is taught, but you can choose to unlearn what you've been taught. That is true. That is true. My father was extremely racist, said he'd disown me if I ever dated a black man, yet I worked for one for 7 years. And it's one of those things where it's like, I have been called racist because I did not want to date a particular black guy. It had nothing to do with the fact that he was black. It had to do with the fact that like it just wasn't my cup of tea. His personality and mine, we didn't mesh well. It was what it was. It is harder to unlearn something. Yeah, it's really hard to unlearn stuff, but side note though, it is hard to unlearn stuff, but it's just like, why do we go around hating each other? And like, I know this is ultimately going to be political because this is the president, but why do people lately online, I have never seen a Democrat point out what is good about the Democrat platform. All they do, all Democrat politicians online, is say how much Trump is wrong, but they never actually say what they would do better. Is that weird? Or is that just me that's noticed that? Or is that a thing? Like, they always say President Trump did this wrong, but they never actually say what they would do better. Their platform is all about hating him. And like, no offense, but he's got 3 years left and he's not going to be president anymore, ever. Like, that's part of our Constitution, only 2 terms. So after 3 years from now, they have no platform. I'm just I got called the N-word by a guy at a restaurant I worked at. I just laughed it off and called another coworker I fell into that category. Yeah. What is hilarious to me that Donald Trump is a Democrat. Yeah, that's true too. Thank you. Why are your hands wet? Oh, bring me the bottle of lotion, please. No. Yes. I have to go do mama duties again because she has lotion and she actually rubbed it into her hands, but I'm afraid that it's going to end up all over my couch. So I will be back. Oh, yes, this right here. A mother's work is never done. It smells really good, and she rubbed it on her hands and her arms, but I'm afraid that it's going to be everywhere. We haven't figured out how to moderate the amount of, I don't necessarily agree. If someone grows up with people who look different from them, the kids won't care about the skin color. Tribalism is a very human trait. So, and looks are the ideal or the ID trait. That's true in a sense. I don't think there's any like one right answer. I believe it's different based on there's the in psychology, there's the nature versus nurture. I believe both play a part. Like that tribalism is innate. But what you're taught is the nurture part. So your environment does play a part, and just human instinct plays a part as well. So, I mean, I don't think there's any right answer. And this is where we live in a giant gray area. Nothing is black and white. My sister from another mother is white, husband Indian, black, or Indian black. My niece is married to a Mexican. My nieces and I grew up, love them dearly, nicknamed Spicy Oreos that wear colorful hats. I love that. I call Flash Fan on here my little brother. We don't look alike. I love him dearly. We're exact opposite as far as skin color. But I call him my little brother, my little YouTube brother. So I use that brand as well. It's a good lotion. Yeah, I'm obsessed. I got a different one recently for Christmas for myself. I just bought myself a couple things and said, "There you go, Mr. Squid. There's my gifts from you." Makes it easier. First day of work, the first thing my boss says, "Oh, you're white." My response was, "Ta-da," and held my arms out. Yeah, it's I don't understand why that's a thing. Like, I just call me a naive, but like it's a part of who you are. It doesn't define who you are, or it shouldn't define who you are. All right. Panorama documentary was available to be viewed by citizens of Florida and was in fact viewed by Florida citizens, notwithstanding the BBC's anticipated and inaccurate claims that documentary was unviewable in the US due to purported geolocking. As a disgraced, now former BBC Director General Tim Davie stated in his recent resignation letter, "Despite a hugely competitive market, I am proud that the BBC remains the most trusted news brand globally." Does anybody believe that shit for a second? It's the week of Christmas, and he's probably doing Christmas stuff with his family. He hasn't been here a lot because he is doing his own thing. He has his Discord server where he has been streaming every day. And he's been killing it over there. He's been building his own thing. And I love him for that. So, My British friends would disagree. I have to ask Spawn what he thinks, because I know he's not a Trump fan per per se, but he did say something about this lawsuit. So I'm assuming that he's not a fan of the BBC. uh, we have continued to ensure that it is used by almost everyone in the UK, as well as hundreds of millions of people globally. The Panorama documentary was available to BritBox subscribers in Florida and was in fact viewed by these subscribers through BritBox and other means provided by the BBC. In addition to access through various means, including BritBox, it is well established that millions of Florida citizens use a VPN to view content such as Panorama, which aired on foreign streaming platforms like BBC iPlayer. Davies, in turn, his resignations in full. BBC News articles. We will be going through all these links on a separate stream because I'm assuming they are priceless. According to VPN Mentor, a VPN research firm, VPN usage in Florida has skyrocketed since 2024, with a 51% increase in demand on December 19th of 2024, and an over 1,000 increase in VPN usage at the beginning of 2025. Florida streamers have opted to use VPNs to increase their streaming freedom. Among the most popular streaming services accessed by viewers is VPN is BBC's online streaming platform, BBC iPlayer. To that end, an article published by Tom's Guide, a reputable technology news outlet, revealed that VPN usage survey showed that approximately 41% of VPN subscribers use the service to stream content, citing BBC iPlayer as an example of what VPN subscriber could view using a VPN. Also, even something like Netflix. Netflix has stuff that they show overseas that they don't show here, and vice versa. So you use a VPN and you place your VPN in Argentina and you get a whole new set of things to watch on Netflix. Don't ask me how I know. The Panorama documentary's publicity, coupled with significant increases in VPN usage in Florida since its debut, establishes the immense likelihood that citizens of Florida accessed the documentary before BBC had removed it. Yeah. Mama Squid, you're not allowed to say you're sorry until further notice. Ah. Oh, yes, and you can, Floridians flock to VPNs as age verification law takes effect. You can also use a VPN and set it to say Illinois to get around Florida's or Georgia's or Tennessee's age verification requirements for certain websites. Yep, and my daughter's Netflix in Canada is different than Netflix here in the States. Exactly. Articles like those published in Tom's Guide and Pure VPN is giving a summary of the Panorama documentary's plot, telling users how to view the documentary and going as far as to provide the links to VPNs that allow users to view BBC iPlayer. Make it overwhelmingly certain that Floridians accessed the documentary using a VPN during the time the documentary was available. This is comparable to Randy saying, it doesn't matter how many people saw the signs. It just matters that they saw the signs. We don't know how many people use the VPN, but we know people use a VPN. Yeah, however, they did put out K-pop Demon Hunters, and I love that. So, hold on. Further supporting the fact that Floridians accessed the Panorama documentary through a VPN, The Guardian reported that research showed that 65 million people from abroad watched the broadcaster's license-free funded iPlayer service using proxy servers or a VPN. Underscored by the chairman of the FCC, Brendan Carr, the BBC has stated that it has a number of partnerships with U.S. broadcasters, including PBS and NPR, to distribute BBC programming here in America. All these articles, which we will go through one by one. The BBC intentionally distributed and placed the Panorama documentary into the stream of commerce in the U.S. generally, and in Florida specifically, through various third-party distributors who entered into agreements with defendants to disseminate the documentary worldwide. One such agreement was with Blue Ant Media Corp., a Canadian company engaged by the BBC to distribute the documentary in North America, including Florida. This is not looking good, based on the facts. Blue Ant not only distributed the Panorama documentary in North America through an agreement with BBC, giving Blue Ant the exclusive international licensing rights to the documentary, including in Florida, but in an action displaying awareness of wrongdoing, Blue Ant pulled the documentary from its catalog on or about November 12th of 2025, right after the presidential election. The timing cannot be coincidental, because it's the one thing I don't necessarily agree or believe in is a coincidence. Blue Ant aggressively advertised its exclusive distribution of the Panorama documentary outside of the UK, further evidencing the intent of the BBC and its strategic partners to disseminate the documentary as widely and into as many streams of commerce and channels of distribution as possible, including Florida. I like how they keep mentioning, including Florida. By the way, Florida and Floridians. More links. Blue Ant Media Corp. Blue Ant pulls BBC Trump doc from catalog November 12th. Oh boy. Further, as explained in greater detail below, the BBC elected to publish the Panorama documentary just 1 week before the 2024 U.S. presidential election, with the express intent of interfering with it and trying to undermine President Trump's odds of winning re-election. Moreover, as plainly seen in the very beginning of the Panorama documentary, the BBC producers and film crew contracted by the BBC's producers traveled to Florida to film significant portions of the documentary at and around President Trump's house, Mar-a-Lago, and Palm Beach, spending substantial amounts of time in Florida and capturing extensive footage on and around the grounds of Mar-a-Lago and surrounding areas that the BBC ultimately used in the documentary. BBC explicitly instructed and ordered its producers to travel to Florida and to use this forum for the purpose of creating the documentary and defaming President Trump. The Panorama documentary contains extensive evidence and examples of the BBC's producers gathering original footage specifically for use in the documentary, not using stock footage at Mar-a-Lago and nearby Palm Beach, an area on April 4th, 2023, as well as other dates. These examples include and are not limited to, between 2023 and 2024, the BBC and its contractors filmed a wide-angle aerial view of Mar-a-Lago taken from a vantage point in the Lake Worth Lagoon, a wide-angle area view of Mar-a-Lago from a vantage point just north facing the ocean, wide-angle shot of Mar-a-Lago and pool exterior added the graphic Trump residence, Mar-a-Lago, Florida. And April 4th, 2023, BBC producers and contracted crew filmed supporters of President Trump lining the streets as President Trump's motorcade proceeded with Trump through Palm Beach on the way to Mar-a-Lago. Rick Fraser, a supporter of Trump, in the passenger seat of a vehicle as it followed the motorcade on the approach to Mar-a-Lago, the vehicle carrying Fraser as it entered Mar-a-Lago, Fraser as he walked into Mar-a-Lago, Trump as he walked into Mar-a-Lago to deliver a speech. Supporters cheering for the president as he prepared to speak inside Mar-a-Lago. President Trump as he delivered a speech to supporters. Frazier as he interacted with other supporters of Trump. The footage gathered by BBC producers and contracted crew was an essential component of the Panorama documentary, having intentionally dispatched personnel and agents to physically enter Florida for the purpose of gathering this footage, and having extensively availed itself of the benefits of this forum. The BBC is subject to personal jurisdiction in Florida. Just saying. Well, hey, Timothy, only penguins and humans have control of a continent. Fear the penguin uprising. Venue is proper, under 28 East Code 1391. A substantial part of the events or omissions give rise to plaintiff's claim occurred in this district. President Trump's a citizen of Florida who was defamed by the BBC while in Florida. BBC filmed Panorama in Florida, a significant part in Florida. And BBC, in concert with its strategic partners, including October Films, Blue Ant Media, distributed the documentary in Florida. And factual allegations, if we haven't seen enough as it is, this whole thing has been loaded down with facts, which I can appreciate. Facts are good. Hi, Angel. What you doing? She's coming in like this. I'm like, what did you do? What'd you do? BBC's defamatory and deceptive depiction of Trump's speech in the doc. Hi, beautiful. What are you doing? You want this? No, you can't have my phone. No. All right, the spliced together version of Trump's remarks from the speech that are depicted in the documentary wrongly made it appear that he said, "We're going to walk down to the Capitol and I'll be there with you, and we fight like hell, and if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore." Falsely depicted 53 of the documentary. This fabricated depiction of Trump's speech was false and deceptive and defamatory, given that President Trump's actual and full remarks during the speech were, if you weren't here earlier, pay attention. This was a repeat of what was said in the first page. This is what he actually said. Now it's up to Congress to confront this egregious assault on our democracy. And after this, we're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you. We're going to walk down. We're going to walk down. And if anyone you want, but I think right here, we're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congresswomen. And we're probably not going to be cheering for much for some of them. Remarks made at 12:12, 14 minutes and 52 seconds into the speech. And nearly 55 minutes later, but I said something's wrong here. Something's really wrong. It can't have happened. And we fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore. Remarks made at 1:07 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 69 minutes and 30 seconds into the speech. They spliced that together as one paragraph. I mean, y'all, not even my editing is that bad. Moreover, to further BBC's intended false, malicious, and defamatory message that President Trump fomented violence, which he did not, the BBC intentionally omitted President Trump saying less than 1 minute after urging supporters to cheer on their senators and congressmen, "I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard." Remarks made 12:13 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 15 minutes and 48 seconds into the speech. BBC's Director General and Head of News resigns in disgrace, and a BBC under fire reluctantly admits wrongdoing. November 9th, 2025, Davy and new CEO Deborah Turnus resigned in disgrace over their leading roles in the Panorama doc. Also, November 9th, President Trump's counsel emailed a letter to Samir Shah, chairman of the BBC, and Sarah Jones, general counsel, entitled Demand to Retract False and Defamatory Statements about the President of the U.S., demanding a retraction of the BBC's false depiction of President Trump, an apology for the false depiction of President Trump, and monetary compensation. Exhibit A. Oh, we've got exhibits. By letter dated November 13th, BBC's counsel indicated that BBC would apologize to President Trump, but somehow ignoring the resignations of the BBC's leadership, admitting of wrongdoing and apology, still attempted to deny intentional wrongdoing and declined to pay damages. Exhibit B. Enclosed with the letter from counsel was a letter of apology from Chairman Shah, which stated, "Let me address immediately your speech of 6 January 2021. The way the speech was edited in the documentary gave a misleading impression of what you said. The editing unintentionally created the impression of a single continuous section of your speech rather than excerpts from different points of the speech. This gave the mistaken impression that you had made a direct call for violent action. That was an editorial error." Galaxy Gamer, doesn't everyone know it's always Trump's fault? I stubbed my toe. It's his fault. Fight, I say. Yeah. Yep. I ate too much sugar with dinner last night. It's Trump's fault. All right, let me read this again so that I can try to make it through it without giving the side eye and eye roll from hell. This gave the mistaken impression that you had made a direct call for violent action. That was an editorial error. Bullshit. I need a bullshit flag. That's what I need. Like, I need to make me some bullshit flags. Wait, I thought everything was Jeremy's fault. Trump, Jeremy, same thing. Telling me and actually finding they're two different things. Well, congratulations, Cynthia. I have stated clearly and publicly that the BBC apologizes for that error of judgment. As it was your speech that was edited in a misleading way and that you were the object of that editorial error, I would like to apologize to you directly for this mistake. You're only apologizing because you got a cease and desist letter. Remember what we said about apologies an hour ago. The BBC then published the following apology on its corrections and clarifications page, which also included in the November 13th letter. Panorama, second chance. Trump, a second chance. 28 October. This program was reviewed, and after criticism of how President Trump's speech was edited, during that sequence, we showed excerpts of different parts of the speech. However, we accept that our edit unintentionally. I'm sorry, I've edited enough videos to know that nothing is unintentional. Everything you do in an edit is intentional. I have edited enough videos to know that everything you do is intentional because you watch that video over and over and over again until you're sick of it to make sure that everything is right. Yeah, we're only sorry when we get caught. Yeah, we had a conversation about an hour ago about adults, and if anybody ever writes a written apology, it came from a lawyer or they were forced to say it because they'd lose money. Yeah, I've worked in newsrooms and I know there isn't nothing they do that isn't calculated and discussed. Yeah. However, we accept that our edit unintentionally created the impression that we were showing a single continuous section of the speech rather than excerpts from different points, and that this gave the mistaken impression that President Trump had made a direct call for violent action. The BBC would like to apologize to Trump for that error in judgment. This program was not scheduled to be rebroadcast and will not be broadcast again on this forum on any BBC platform. Notably, BBC did not broadcast a correction, apology, or retraction during a broadcast in a comparable manner as the Panorama documentary or with a comparable audience. Substantial evidence of the BBC's actual malice. Oh, here we go. Contrary to the BBC's claim that its splicing, manipulation, and distortion was unintentional editorial error, substantial evidence suggests that this was an intentional and malicious effort to falsely and deceptively portray Trump as having called for violent action on January 6th. Corrections and clarifications. As an initial matter of common sense, oh my God, he cursed. How dare Trump's lawyers curse in a document? It would have been impossible for BBC's journalists and producers to splice together two distinct parts of the speech from nearly 55 minutes apart, unless they were acting intentionally. Anybody who's ever edited anything, like I know the videos that I edit are 15 to 20 minutes, edited down to like 10 to 12. But the amount of times that I have to go back and watch that 10 to 12 minutes is nuts. There's no way that that's not intentional. The only way that that could ever be intentional is if you were using AI to do your edits, but it will even show you how many things are edited out of the middle. Two distinct parts of a speech from nearly 55 minutes apart do not inadvertently become spliced or linked together without effort, knowledge, and purpose, in parallel by definition and error of judgment. As admitted to by the BBC, it's not an inadvertent, it includes an intentional act. Hey Taz. Whoever thought it, yeah, blame the people who invented editing. The BBC's actual malice is further compounded by its prior acts that unequivocally demonstrate the organization has been anything but fair and impartial when it comes to reporting on Trump. This is the thing. This is 2024. This is not, this is made in 2023 and 2024. And this was not the first time they've ever reported on Trump. You have a history. And now your history is about to come out. And I can't wait. And I damn sure hope this gets to Discovery, because Discovery should be fascinating. Substantial evidence demonstrates that before the publication of the documentary, the BBC and its leadership bore President Trump ill will, wanted him to lose the 2024 election, and were dishonest in their coverage of him. Shocker. Thanks for your support in the circus, always. My dad called me a pit bull the other day, or a Rottweiler. I misspoke when I said that he called me a pit bull. He called me a Rottweiler. The little is right here. The BBC, its journalists, and its producers knew at and prior to the time that they published the documentary that BBC's depiction of President Trump's speech was false. The Prescott Memorandum. In early summer of 2025, Michael Prescott, a journalist who until June 2025 was an independent advisor to the BBC's editorial guidelines and standards committee. They have one of those? You'd never know. They have standards. Here. Use that. You don't need all of it. Sent an internal memo to the BBC board exposing a string of incidents that demonstrate serious bias in the corporation's reporting. Following the leak of the memo, The Telegraph published the memo in early November 2025. Oh, they don't have the memo hyperlinked. But it's this right here. The devastating memo that plunged BBC into crisis. It's when the skeletons come out of the closet that all of a sudden they're in crisis. Instead of not being douchebags to begin with and not having any skeletons in your closet. I mean, it's not hard to not be an asshole. Like, it's really not hard to just stay in your lane. It's really not hard to report facts. Yeah, I give you my opinion based on the facts, but I still give you the damn facts. I don't present my opinion as a fact. Prescott highlighted a litany of disturbing misconduct, demonstrating how far the BBC has strayed from accepted standards of journalistic integrity, including but not limited to the BBC's tampering with President Trump's speech in the documentary. Notably, Prescott is nonpartisan, he wrote in the memorandum. No, you don't need any more lotion. Crazy girl. Good, I'm back. You can start again. You're funny. I think it's important to state I have never been a member of any political party, and I do not hold any hard and fast views on any matters such as American politics or disputes in the Middle East. My views on the BBC's treatment of the subjects covered below do not come with any agenda. Rather, what motivated me to prepare this note is in despair at inaction by the BBC executive when issues come to light. On no other occasion in my professional life have I witnessed what I did at the BBC in regard to how management dealt with or failed to deal with serious recurrent problems. Regarding the Panorama documentary, Prescott wrote, I watched the program and found it to be neither balanced nor impartial. It seemed to be taking a distinctly anti-Trump stance. Critics of the Republican presidential candidate vastly outnumbered those who argued for him. What examination there was of reasons for Trump's popularity seemed to me insufficient given the overall balance of the program. Given what I took to be the anti-Trump nature of the program, I, of course, assumed there would be a similar balancing Panorama program about Democrat presidential candidate Kamala Harris. The following week, I remained shocked that there was not. Probably the only person who was shocked. Prescott was not alone in his assessment. I raised my concerns at the EGSC, and David Grossman, senior editorial advisor to the EGSC, was asked to review the program. He concluded the main contributors to the documentary were heavily weighted against Trump, with just one supporter against 10 who questioned his fitness for office. Worse still, David highlighted alarming concerns about how Panorama had edited Trump's speech to his supporters on January 6th. Examining the charge that Trump had indicted protesters to storm the Capitol, it turned out Panorama had spliced together two clips from separate parts of his speech. This created the impression that Trump said something he did not, and in doing so, materially misled viewers. Prescott concluded about the splicing of President Trump's speech that this was one of the most shocking sets of issues uncovered during my time with the EGSC. If BBC journalists are allowed to edit video in order to make people say things they never actually said, then what value are corporations' guidelines, and why should the BBC be trusted, and where will all this end? In a courtroom. The 2022 BBC Newsnight distortion demonstrating that the Panorama documentary splice is part of a defamatory pattern by the BBC of falsely depicting President Trump through the doctored footage. Hey, Paul. As further revealed by The Telegraph, the BBC also aired a similarly doctored footage of President Trump's speech on a 2022 episode of BBC Newsnight. In the doctored speech, the clip aired by BBC Newsnight, Trump is falsely, maliciously, and defamatorily depicted as saying, We're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women, and we fight like hell. What President Trump really said was, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congresswomen, and we're probably not going to be cheering as much for some of them. Remarks made January 6th at 12:12 Eastern Standard Time, 14 minutes and 52 seconds into the speech. And when there's two different programs on the BBC doctoring the speech in two different ways, it is not what how about you just play the speech as it is and don't edit it? But if you don't edit shit, that goes against people's narratives. But the fact that two different programs, BBC Newsnight and this documentary, edited it, but they did not edit it the same way. If they would have edited it the same way, it would be more realistic to the fact that it was like unintentional. Oh, we just used their footage. So it's their issue, not ours. Don't blame these set of producers, blame, the producers for Newsnight. They just gave us permission to use their footage and we didn't edit it. However, it's edited in a completely different way. It's just baffling to me. As the Telegraph reported, spliced footage of the speech, which aired in an episode in 2022, made it appear that Mr. Trump was encouraging his supporters to riot. The edit was much like a version aired in Panorama, broadcast last year. As further reported by the Telegraph, like Panorama, the Newsnight edit made it look as if the U.S. president had urged supporters to walk to the Capitol building with him to fight like hell, by linking statements made nearly an hour apart in the speech. The harm caused by this doctoring was exacerbated by the BBC intentionally omitting President Trump stating only 1 minute after urging supporters to cheer on their senators and congressmen, "I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard, as we do in this country. We have the right to peacefully assemble, as in our First Amendment." Freedom of speech is not the only part of our First Amendment. The First Amendment also includes the freedom of assembly and the freedom of the press, surprisingly enough. Immediately after BBC Newsnight episode aired, Mick Mulvaney, former acting White House Chief of Staff, and David Shador, former award-nominated graphic designer for BBC Newsnight. Come here. Okay. Bye. After this, I need a nice glass of wine. Yeah, I do have new emojis, so. Immediately after BBC Newsnight episode aired, Mick Mulvaney and David Shador, former award-nominated graphic designer for BBC Newsnight from 2022 to 2024, both individually voiced their concerns regarding misleading and malicious way BBC Newsnight edited the clip to distort reality. They should be. Yeah, these ones probably will be. Mr. Shador specifically told the Telegraph that he was present for discussions about BBC Newsnight clip the day after it was published, wherein BBC Newsnight production team members dismissed any ethical concerns about the clip. Mr. Mulvaney expressed his concern on air while being interviewed on BBC Newsnight, stating, "Your video actually spliced together the presentation." He said, we're going down and we're going to cheer on our senators and our House members. And then it actually goes on to say, and some of them we might not be able to. And that line about, and we fight like hell, is actually later in the speech. But yet your video makes it look like those two things came together. The malicious nature of the spliced and edited clip is further underscored by former BBC legal affairs correspondent Clive Coleman's statements in response to the documentary, stating, "I really struggle to understand how you got to this place. The first lesson, almost you're taught as a broadcast journalist, is that you do not join two bits of footage together from different times in a way that makes the audience look like it's one piece of footage. I mean, I thought that was common sense. That's not like ethical, or you don't need to be you don't need to go to college for broadcast journalism to realize that you don't do that. And Taz, thanks for the $5 super chat. Just because you're you, I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. 2024 BBC News shooting hoax further demonstrated the Panorama documentary doctoring is part of a defamatory pattern of falsely depicting President Trump calling for violence. Also revealed by the Telegraph, BBC had admitted misleading viewers by claiming that Donald Trump called for one of his leading critics to be pew-pewed in the face. What the flying I would sue just for that. Because that's accusing him of threatening a crime. Like, sometimes you just look at people and you're like, why the fuck do you need to say that? Like, and Cynthia, thank you for the $2 super chat. Doc Fund, appreciate it. BBC apologized to Trump for doc edits, but pushes back on legal threat. Anita Singh, BBC admits falsely claiming Trump wanted to shoot the critic. President Trump supposedly calling for violence against a political opponent, none of which occurred, is contained in the now public memorandum, and yet BBC has still failed to issue a public correction. Oh, this just keeps getting worse. As described by the Telegraph, in the days before the U.S. presidential election in November last year, a presenter on BBC World News America said that Trump appeared to suggest Liz Cheney should face a firing squad for her stance on foreign policy. No, that's treason. I believe that, treason, firing squad possible. Like the treasonous six, which I never got to because shit in other cases blew the hell up. I still have a problem, but I will be covering if certain people get brought back to active duty to go to court-martial. I will be all over that coverage, as much as the media will let me. As described by the Telegraph, BBC News Channel, another presenter asked his guest, President Trump, is out there on the campaign trail saying he wants people to pew-pew Liz Cheney in the face. Is that sort of thing women will react well to? Question. Put a 1 in the chat if you want Liz Cheney's name to never be put in anything in any media ever again, and you just want her to go away. Like, live your life peacefully now that you're a private citizen. Go away. Like, just do what you do in Wyoming. I don't care. Just go away. Like, never show your face on TV again. Just live your life peacefully and quietly and stop running your mouth. Speaking on the 6 o'clock news the same night, Sarah Smith, BBC North America editor, said Mr. Trump had been rationing up the violent rhetoric. No, calling someone a Yahtzee and saying that you need to confront Yahtzees and Yahtzees don't deserve to be here and blah, blah, blah. That is called ratcheting up the violent rhetoric. And that's how you get Charlie Kirk. And how they don't see that is how people cannot see that is beyond, like, I will never understand how people don't see how saying that, like, people don't deserve to live, or you need to deplatform people, that is calling for violence. When people are like, Yahtzees don't deserve to live, and then you start calling anybody who you don't disagree with a Yahtzee, they're not calling you a Yahtzee because you actually are one. They're calling you a Yahtzee so that it justifies them killing you. Controversial, but baby. Yeah, they don't see it because if you disagree with them, you're subhuman. That's good point. She added, in the latest spat, Donald Trump has been accused of being petty, vindictive, and a wannabe tyrant. No, I'm petty and vindictive and a wannabe tyrant because he suggested that one of his political opponents should face pew-pews or have him trained on her face. All of these statements by the BBC presenters were false. Yeah, I never heard any of those statements, actually. Even in our news, I never heard any of those. In fact, Mr. Trump had accused Miss Cheney of being a radical war hawk who wanted to send troops to war while she remained in the safety of D.C. Let's put her with a rifle standing where 9 barrels shooting at her face. Okay, let's see how she feels about it. And that's not calling for her to face a firing squad. That is saying you want to send other people to war while you sit with armed security in your safe house in DC. While you're not the one actually fighting the wars. And that's what these politicians will never understand. Can you please quiet? They will never understand is they vote for all these endless wars. They're not the people that are out there losing their lives. Like, what are we doing? She's quiet until I start talking. And Cynthia, thanks for the $10 super chat. I meant to say that send this instead of the 2. I want a refund. Just kidding. What the other side doesn't get is, yes, we love Trump, but no, we always don't agree on some stuff he says or does. But he's a man of his word. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I've seen in Galaxy Gamer, I don't know how you feel about this, but lately I've seen all these, like, Harry Sisson or whatever the hell his sissy boy name is. Trump is losing his supporters because of what he said about Rob Rainier or whatever. It's like, no, we're not losing his supporters. We don't regret voting for him, but we can disagree when we think someone should shut the fuck up. And I'm sorry. I know I don't think anything that Trump said about Rob Rainier and his wife was wrong in the sense of factually untrue. However, sometimes just because something is true and you can say it doesn't mean you should. And there are some times when I wish he would just put the phone down. That is it. I don't think that anything that he said was like factually inaccurate. Rob Rainier, well, I don't even know that dude's name. That's because they think every time you criticize them, you like they don't ever criticize their leaders because they follow blindly. I mean, I don't know how else to, like, I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, look at Trump's actions and look at what he says. It's you know, yeah, I just because certain sides of the aisle, they don't question things, and we always agree to disagree. You can like somebody's politics or like policies, but not like their personality. Or there's even sometimes where I'm probably like, outpost nerd, shut the hell up, you know, Reiner. Thank you. I'm sorry. I had absolutely no idea who the man was. I don't watch movies. I'm a music person. I don't do movies. I don't have the time or the I don't have the attention span for movies. I believe somebody in my comment said I couldn't even do a 2 to 3 minute sponsorship because I can't keep my attention span. I see. However, with that being said, I know that the man was calling for Trump's death, basically, and was celebrating when he thought Trump was not alive anymore. He was celebrating that. So I don't necessarily disagree with Trump's attitude on it. However, just because you can say something does not mean you should say something. sometimes it's just better to keep your mouth shut and say no comment. But this Liz Cheney stuff, it's like she wants to sit here and vote for an endless war while sending other people's kids to go fight it. Mainly me. It's one of those, when you're sitting in a house with security and you don't have to worry about any of the violence that comes with an endless war because it's thousands of miles from your home. Send you and see how you feel about it and see if you make different decisions, is what he was saying. This false, defamatory, and malicious coverage of Trump, broadcast in the same time period as the release of Panorama, was consistent with BBC's modus operandi. Angel. Shh. You want to get down? No. You good? Okay. You can't sit like that, Angel. You cannot sit like that. There is no chair right there. She wants to sit over here, but be at my height. There's no chair right here. It's floor. She's gonna fall. Defaming President Trump by fabricating calls for violence allegedly issued by him that he never actually made. Panorama Doc was intentionally one-sided and inflammatory, demonstrating that doctoring of President Trump's speech was intentional and part of the BBC's defamatory pattern. The lack of any effort by the BBC to publish content even remotely resembling objective journalism or to maintain even a slight semblance of objectivity demonstrates that BBC had no regard for the truth about Trump and that doctoring of his speech was not inadvertent, but instead was an intentional component of the BBC's effort to craft as one-sided an impression of and narrative against Trump as possible. No, none. Now I just messed up your hair. All right. Indeed, by any measure, including the overwhelming ratio of anti-Trump versus pro commentators in the documentary, the exceptionally high percentage of time granted to these negative voices versus the positive voices and the inflammatory content of the negative remarks. Yes, they inflame. They are the ones who use inflammatory language and promote and provoke violence, but yet they accuse the other. The projection is real. Shh. All coupled with BBC's historical unfair, but she only talks when I'm talking. Angel.
Huh?
No. Doctoring his speech was consistent with part of the BBC's modus operandi of negatively covering Trump without any pretense of objectivity. Your belly?
No.
Where's your reset button?
No.
Okay. Angel.
No.
You gotta get down, baby. You gotta get down. Yes. Sorry, Angel. You gotta sit quietly then, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, you gonna take a nap? Go take a nap. There we go. Take a nap. There we go. A true woman. I'm a jerk. Was it you that told me that I couldn't, in my comment section, that I couldn't make it 2 minutes into an ad read because I can't I can't stay focused? The BBC's aggressively anti-Trump stance reflected a straightaway in the opening scene of Panorama's doc introduction, which runs for almost 3 minutes and begins with noted anti-Trump commentator Rick Wilson, who has written 2 books criticizing President Trump: Everything Trump Touches Dies and Running Against the Devil, a plot to save America from Trump and Democrats from themselves. He had called the president the devil and a cult leader. Well, isn't that pot calling the kettle black? I couldn't remember. I know it's you, but I couldn't remember who put that in my comment section. I think they hate or they hate unsubscribed. They rage quit. Oh, rage quit merch coming in 2026 as well. Declaring the backdrop of ominous cinematic music reaching dramatic crescendo. I'm the leading anthropologist on Donald Trump in the world, probably. I've thought about him and studied him more than anybody else. Meaning he lives rent-free in your head. You can't get any more up. You can't get any more up. No, you're not sitting on my desk. You gotta get down. She's okay. Yeah, you go, Orange Man bad. Well, the thing about focusing on one person all the time is they live rent-free in your head. I don't have... I don't know how anybody can hate or focus so much on one person. Like, who, like, what? Like, get a life, people. You know, touch grass. Get some real friends. Like, yeah. Should have used baby squid in the derailment picture. Yeah, well. See, now I'm getting kind of frustrated because she keeps sliding down, but there is no chair right there. And she's going to fall and she's going to hit her face on my desk, which is why I keep pulling her up. But the only way that we're going to learn is to fall, but I don't want her to fall because I want to protect her from falling. But like right there, you're going to fall. Oh, just like that. Like I can't wait till he's out of office and see what they focus on next. They will still be focused on him for the end of time. Yeah, it's funny, when Trump was a Democrat, everyone loved him, sent him they all wanted his money. She's on my Facebook. I can hear her playing my my shorts. I've thought about him and studied him more probably than probably anybody else, and I hate him. I hate what he is and I hate what he does. That's obsessive compulsive. That sounds like a problem that you need to see a doctor for. Seconds later, Wilson states of President Trump, "When you let the monster escape, it will come back. It's a rule of every damn horror movie in history." That is that sounds like that sounds doesn't that take that as a like a threat? Former Clinton Secretary of Labor and current Berkeley professor Robert Reich, another vocal critic of President Trump, then offers, "Once you've unleashed this anger, this hate into the blood of America, well, it's very difficult to stop it." Yeah, I can appreciate, I might not agree with everything he does, but he's one person that says, "I'm going to do this," and actually does it. Instead of running on, "I'm going to do this," blowing smoke up your ass and not doing it. So I can appreciate the actually doing what you're going to say. For better or worse, he does what he says he's going to do. A greater majority of the verbal commentary in the documentary features negative assertions about Trump by 12 individuals known to be hostile to the president, all whom are presented as having some form of relevant expertise and authority about subject matter presented. Moreover, an overwhelming majority of the overall documentary, including the non-interview segment depicting political and historical events from recent years, presents Trump in a negative light. And you know what? You want to know why certain people around the world might not like him? Is because they're not getting his money anymore. They're not getting the US's money anymore. They're actually having to fund their own shit. Germany is increasing their budget by 81 or their defense budget by 81%. I wonder if that has anything to do, and I have to look into this because I'm not entirely sure, but if that has anything to do with getting less shit from the US and the fact that the US doesn't have a base there anymore. These are just questions. I don't know the answer to these, so I'm not making any assertions. These are just questions that I have. Your governments are getting less money from us, therefore you are not living as comfortable of a life. Just a question. Further demonstrating BBC's malice and intent to interfere with the 2024 election, the documentary, after lingering at length on the events of January 6th, because that's everybody's focus, that's the new Pearl Harbor, don't you know? Cuts to a clip from the Democratic National Convention on August 22nd, 2024, showing cackling Kamala Harris taking the stage with a news anchor, breathlessly exclaiming in the background, and here she is, Kamala Harris. It's hard to describe just how electric the mood is here right now. Oh, it's yeah. The thought of brain cells all dying at the same time. That's the electricity they were talking about. Toward the end of the documentary, Reich shockingly compares President Trump to Adolf Hitler, which rises to defamation itself, while Democrat Congressman Jared Huffman refers to the president as a cult leader, also a defamatory statement. Calling someone AH. So last time I checked, the Yahtzees were Democratic, were socialists. And with that, they didn't like pew-pews. I think I have a photo, like an infographic that I made comparing Trump and Yahtzees. And if I can find it, I will show it to you guys because I think it's fascinating. It's a screenshot, maybe. Trying to find it. I just have so many screenshots that I can't show you guys. I mean, I really wish I could, but because that shit would be hilarious. But we're just going to show you this real quick when you compare Trump to a Yahtzee. Nazis, Democrats, socialism, no guns, censorship, media mind control, abortion, hating Jews, worship the government. The comparisons are a little uncanny, if you ask me. Yeah, the Yahtzees platform aligns perfectly with 1930s and 40s Germany. Fancy that. Like I just no, I have screenshots that would out people, and I keep them for personal enjoyment and looking at things when I see people going, Squid is this, Squid is this. It's like, if I showed this screenshot right now, everybody would know the true you. And I'm just not going to do that. But I keep them just in case. But right now, the internet's doing that job for me, so I don't have to. Others join Reich. It's interesting that he talks about Adolf Hitler and his name is Reich. Just a interesting coincidence, if you ask me. Others then joined Reich, delivering hyperbolic warnings about Trump and then supposedly catastrophic consequences that would ensue if President Trump were to emerge victorious. Yeah, catastrophic consequences. Yep, gas is down to $2.50 in my area. That's catastrophic consequences if I'd say it. Like, the degree to which his pessimism and darkness has infected half this country terrifies me. Oh my God, shut up. There's no ideology in the Republican Party except pain. They want vengeance. No, I want government to get the hell out of my life. I want the government to stop telling my kid that she's not the gender she was born as. I want teachers to teach her how to add and subtract and multiply and divide, not how to change her girly parts, so to speak. Like, sounds like content for a members only stream. I mean, it could be, but I really don't want to be that big of an asshole unless provoked. And there are content creators who are figuring shit out now. And there are viewers who are figuring shit out now that I figured out back in January. And people, other people figured out a little bit earlier than me. You know? Yeah, I'm all of you can be whoever you want to be, but you're not. How am I supposed to be comfortable with you if you're not comfortable with yourself? I'm in one of my moods. I'm always in my mood. All right. Berkeley political science professor Stephen Fish says there's a reason why Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un and all these despots all over the world are rooting so hard for Trump. Because what Trump does is he seems to discredit democracy in the land of its stronghold. In the strongest democracy in the world, Trump seems to be proof that democracy doesn't work. We're not a fucking democracy. A democracy is mob rule. We are not a fucking democracy. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. A democracy is majority rule. We are not majority rule. Oh my God. Constitutional republic. That's why in our Pledge of Allegiance is to the republic for which it stands. We are not a straight democracy. A straight democracy is mob rule. We are not mob rule. Yeah, that's a Gavin Newsom problem. For these people that are like, well, Trump's not doing anything. My gas is still high. I always say, look at what your legislator is voting on gas taxes. Yeah, we're a freaking republic. There is differences. It's slight differences. Constitutional republic is a form of democracy, but we are not a straight democracy. Straight democracy is mob rules, is majority rule, which if we were a straight democracy, New York, Chicago, and LA and Atlanta would run everything. Big cities would run everything. Small states, those flyover states, wouldn't get shit because they don't have large populations. That's why we have the Electoral College, so everybody gets a voice. That's why we have 2 houses of Congress. We have to go into Government 101. The Senate, every state gets an equal voice. 2 senators. The House gets based on population. But our founding fathers were, the forethought that they had was impeccable. Yeah, in straight democracy, we'd have to vote on every little thing the country does. Nothing would ever get done because we'd be counting votes 95% of the time. Yeah. We are a democratically elected republic. Want to protect against other countries invading? Keep your Second Amendment. I don't know. Boston College history professor Heather Cox Richardson offers this time when we either choose authoritarianism or democracy. If we choose authoritarianism, there will be no turning back. So I think we better get this one right. They always say authoritarianism, but they're the ones who are trying to take away my Bill of Rights. They're trying to censor speech. They're trying to deplatform people for their opinions. They're trying to take away the Second Amendment. It's amazing to me. Yeah, I would love to go down a couple of rabbit holes, but I'm already a rabbit hole diver. Like, yeah, there's no such thing as a true democracy anywhere in the world. That is true too. Reich delivered a closing mark to punctuate the BBC's parade of bias. Wish us luck. By us, I mean the US. I think we're doing just fine. Prominent voices condemn BBC and confirm the BBC's longstanding pattern of actual malice against Trump. BBC is so institutionally biased against Trump and so devoid of self-awareness that in response to the letter above from President Trump's counsel, Exhibit A, it published a baseless and meritless article questioning the merits of any lawsuit that the president might bring against the BBC. Whew. Watch later, Democracy versus Constitutional Republic. I need to pin that. Whee! Pin message. There we go. No less authority in UK. And I am not an expert in like the British government by any means. I would have to bring one of my British friends. Welsh, I know you're not English. I'm just saying British as a whole, just in case you see this, you know who you are. I'm just saying. I know you're Welsh, but you're still British. You're part of the UK. I would have to bring on one of my UK friends to talk about the differences in the government, because I know a little bit, but I'm not an expert by any means. Squid pinned her homework for later. I bet it's good. Oh. All right, the BBC has a huge problem. They've lied, they've cheated, they've fiddled with footage, especially in the case of Trump, but also covering up what's happening in Britain, whether it's mass migration, whether it's our economic problems. They're always biased towards the left. She was also asked whether BBC's tepid apology was sufficient. She responded, "No, I don't, because they keep doing it again and again." Yeah, an apology isn't really an apology if you keep doing the same shit over and over again. Even if you are genuine in your apology, it doesn't really mean anything if you keep doing the shit over and over again. I mean, that's interesting. That I did not know. In Australia, every person over 18 must vote or be fined. The thing about here is people vote, but they also can't tell you what they're voting for. They will vote, and then someone will ask them what policies that they'll describe a policy that they know this person won't like. And they'll be like, "Who do you think that policy was, Trump or Kamala?" And they'll be like, "Oh, that had to be a Trump policy." It was like, "No, that was a Kamala policy." They don't know what they're voting for. California is a perfect example. They keep voting for the same thing and then bitching about how much their state sucks, or how much their like state is in debt, or their gas prices, or the housing prices. Yet they keep voting for the same shit over and over again and expecting something to change, and it's not. New York is the same freaking way. Yeah, people here vote against Trump. They don't vote for things. It's Oh, they have painted a completely false picture of Trump in Britain over a number of years. They've done the same thing about conservatives in our country. Lamenting the BBC's lost status as a paragon of journalism, she remarked that BBC's fake news has caused immense harm to the public for a long time. Caroline Dinniage, head of the House of Commons Culture, Media and Sport Committee, said that members of Parliament need assurances that BBC was taking decisive steps to uphold the corporation's reputation for integrity and public trust. I trust the BBC. I'm sorry, I would trust There's a lot of things that I would trust more than the BBC. Gas station sushi would be one of them. She further remarked the corporation must set the benchmark for accurate and fair reporting, especially in media landscape where it's all too easy to find news presented in less than an impartial way. Conservative Party leader and member of parliament Kemi Badenoch, said that the distortion of the speech by Panorama was absolutely shocking, adding that it is fake news actually putting different things together to make someone look different from what is actually said. It actually was. That's like an AI speech. Yeah, that's why you trust CNN. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Jake Tapper, no thank you. She continued, and I think heads should roll. Whoever it was that did that should be sacked. That's what Tim Davies should be doing, identifying who put out misinformation and sacking them. She added, the public needs to be able to trust our public broadcaster. They should not be telling us things that are not true. This is a corporation that needs to hold itself to the highest standards. No, they hold themselves to who will pay them the highest amount of money. That means when we see people doing the wrong thing, they should be punished. They should be sacked. The thing about Trump is I sometimes wish he would keep his mouth shut. Like, he's gotten to the age where he's filterless. However, if you listen to some of his texts, like Tyrus from Gutfeld was talking about a text exchange that he had with Trump at 2:30 in the morning. And it was pretty fucking hilarious. It was basically him saying, like, texting with Trump, and Tyrus's wife asking, who you talking to? Said the president, and his wife kind of like going off, and Tyrus texting the president and saying, I can't talk to you. My wife says I can't talk to you anymore. And he says, pussy whipped. And I'm like, that's fucking hilarious. However, if you look at Kai Trump's YouTube channel, like the way Trump acts with her, that's his granddaughter, the gorgeous one, Donald Trump Jr.'s daughter. He's on her YouTube channel all the time. And it's like the way he acts with her is like him as like grandpa, and it's kind of endearing. That made me like his personality a little bit better. Plus, I'm a little petty and sassy. We live in the pettyverse, so like, we tend to live in the pettyverse. So I mhm. That's just one problem. Like, Lisa Nandy, Secretary of State for Culture, Media and Sport of the UK, has similarly expressed concern. There was a real concern, which I share, that political appointments to the board of BBC damaged confidence and that trust in the BBC's impartiality. You think? I'm sorry. Like, Donald Trump, does boy sleep? No. No. And that's why I swear to goodness, that's why the amount of people who have said they have texted President Trump in the middle of the freaking night, which is one of the reasons that when I see him closing his eyes during a boring ass meeting during the day, I'm like, you know what? The fucking man is tired. The man is old. The man is tired. Give the man a fucking break. I'm only second class petty. Yeah, you're first class petty. You beat me on the petty scale. True, but they're all in bed together. Look at the executives in ABC, CBS, Fox, and look who they're married to, sleeping with. They're all in bed together. Marjorie Taylor Greene's fucking retiring from Congress or resigning. However, she just got engaged to a reporter. she got engaged to a conservative reporter. However, does conservative Republic or conservative Democrat doesn't fucking matter. They are all. There's a reason that certain people in government get jobs in media once they are done working for the government. It's because they were all in bed together anyway. Huh. Yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene made her $20 million and she's done. I really would like to look at her stock trades. Yep, most networks are owned by government. I love our Democrats. I love how they talk about like Trump owning stuff and Elon Musk owning like Monopoly. It's like, you know who owns the Washington Post, right? Jeff Bezos. Like, you really want to go there? We can go there. Huh. FCC Chairman Brendan Carr, in a letter addressed to Davy Paula Kerger, President and CEO of PBS, and Catherine Mayer, CEO of NPR, strongly stated, as you know, BBC was recently caught intentionally distorting a speech that Trump gave in January 2021. It did so by slicing together one portion of the speech, which was entirely separate, for another portion of the speech that came 54 minutes later. In doing so, the program depicts President Trump voicing a sentence that, in fact, he never uttered. That would appear to meet the very definition of publishing a material, false, and damaging statement. Carr continued, highlighting the findings of the memorandum. Indeed, there has now been a widespread condemnation of BBC's decision, including a former independent external advisor to BBC's editorial guidelines and standards committee, Prescott, told the BBC that its decision created the impression that Trump said something he did not, and in doing so, materially misled viewers. Likewise, the Prescott report states that the BBC program was neither balanced nor impartial. It seemed to be taking a distinctly anti-Trump stance. In sum, it was a distortion of the day's events. The Prescott report continued. Damages! Since its publication, the Panorama documentary has gained substantial traction and republication across various media in the US and elsewhere globally. Defendants used their false and defamatory publications to maliciously disparage and damage President Trump to impugn his reputation. Specific, extensive, and economic harms resulted from these defamatory statements. Defendants timed the publication of the Panorama documentary to be close in time to the 2024 election, releasing it 1 week before the election. Coincidence? I think not. I think not. See ya! Ugh. The value of President Trump's personal brand alone is reasonably estimated to be worth tens of billions of dollars. Business ventures bearing his name generate hundreds of millions of dollars of annual revenue. Moreover, the injury to President Trump's business and personal reputation inflicted by these defendants and their efforts to falsely, maliciously, and defamatorily portray President Trump as a violent insurrectionist continue into the present, thereby causing massive economic damage to his brand value and significant damage and injury to his future financial prospects and potential damages to the US economy based on if people were willing to work with the US until they heard that he said that. If you know what I mean. So, potentially impacting the US as well. Because remember, this is a sitting president. President Trump's damages take the form of direct harm to his professional and occupational interests, including without limitation value of his brand, properties, and businesses, and severe diminishment and tarnishing of his reputation as a politician, leader, and businessman in the eyes of the American public and around the world. Exacerbating the damages, defendants, and prior to the time of their doctoring of the speech, knowingly made their false, deceptive, malicious, defamatory depiction of President Trump in bad faith, motivated by malice and ill will against Trump without any regard for the truth, and contrary to the information defendants possessed that showed their depiction to be false. All conditions precedent to the bringing of this action have been satisfied and otherwise waived. Claims for relief, defamation. Do we need to read the actual claim because they've pretty much repeated it. Hey. Just in case any of you just in case any of you need to hear it once again, this is the third time I'm repeating this exact same phrase. The fabricated depiction of President Trump during the speech was false and defamatory, given that President Trump's actual full remarks during the speech were, "Now it is up to Congress to confront the egregious assault on our democracy. And after this, we're all going to walk down, and I'll be there with you. We're going to walk down. We're going to walk down. And anyone you want, but I think right here, we're all going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women. And we're probably not going to be cheering so much for some of them." Remarks made 12:12 p.m., 14 minutes and 52 seconds into the speech. Nearly 55 minutes later, "But I said something's wrong here, something's really wrong, it can't have happened, and we fight like hell, and if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore." And his meaning of fight like hell is getting out there and voting, not just voting for national, like the presidency, but voting for your local elections, because it all starts at the local level. Like, remarks made January 6th, 1:07 p.m., 69 minutes and 30 seconds into the speech. Moreover, the BBC's intended false, malicious, defamatory message impression that Trump's fomented violence. BBC intentionally omitted Trump stating only 1 minute after urging supporters to cheer on their senators and congressmen, "I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make our voices heard." Remarks made 12:13 Eastern Standard Time, 15 minutes and 48 seconds into the speech. They knew. So here's where it gets interesting. Wherefore, plaintiff President Donald J. Trump demands judgment against defendants BBC, BBC Studios, and BBC Studios Productions for damages in an amount of not less than $5 billion. $5 billion. I can't even fathom that being a real number, in a bank account. As well as interest costs, punitive damages, and such other relief as this court may deem just and proper. Unfair Trade Practices Act. Oh, here we go. Florida Deceptive and Unfair Trade Practices Act. Where have we heard this shit before? Oh. Defendants have violated Unfair Trade Practices Act by engaging in unfair methods of competition, unconscionable acts or practices, and unfair or deceptive acts or practices by inter alia intentionally and maliciously seeking to completely mislead their viewers by splicing together two separate parts of President Trump's speech, while omitting critical parts of the speech in such manners as to intentionally, falsely, maliciously, defamatorily change the meaning of what President Trump said. I'm just, I'm just, wherefore he's asking for another $5 billion. So it's $10 billion total. It's $10 billion each. It's $10 billion total, $5 billion each. Due to lack of arson, the Democrats can't see the protest as peaceful. So this is a Florida lawyer. So Jeremy, not like you'll see this, but somebody give this lawyer's name to Jeremy. Not that we don't like Randy, but Randy is over his head in too many. He's got too many things going on. I think Randy needs help. And this is one of Trump's lawyers. And if one of Trump's lawyers could work for Randy or could work for Jeremy, how much would that piss off the anti what the hell ecosystem? I'm just saying. How to piss off some haters in 2.5 seconds. Not like I've thought about this or anything. or Daniel Zachary Epstein. Whew, what a name. Counsel to President Donald Trump. Yeah, that'd be hilarious, right? Like, I mean, come on, guys. Petty princess here. I can think of how to get under people's skin. And the thing about it is when I know how to get under people's skin, I will just do it because it's funny. I don't do it for money. I do it because it's fucking hilarious. And he has Pro Hoc Vice application forthcoming. The Pro Hoc Vice application is in there. So it is 4:25. I have to get going. Mr. Squid will be home soon, and I have to figure out what the hell we're gonna do for dinner. I'm probably just throwing in some shit. We will get into this tomorrow. Yeah, and we will get into the Hannah Dugan stuff because we got stuff. We got stuff. So we Patreon. I do have a Patreon account. I just haven't done anything over there because I just don't know what to do with it. But I did start a Patreon page. So I just don't know what to do with it because, well, the judge finding the thumbnails case frivolous was a start. Yeah, that's true. That's true. However, I'm just saying, every time I've pointed out lawyers or I've seen lawyers that have worked in an area that Jeremy is suing for, I've I have thoughts on the civil rights lawsuit, which is federal. Holy fuck to the people in my comment section who are like, you're the only person calling it federal. The lawsuit that was just dismissed in the Jeremy Hale's case was a federal case. If it's filed in federal court, it is a federal case. Just, I never thought that I would have to be that asshole that has to point that out. And I'm sorry that I'm the only person calling it federal, but just because I'm the only person calling it a federal case does not make me wrong. With that being said, I think that Jeremy has a point, but remember when I said it was just bad timing? I think that more needs to be in the lawsuit. And I think that Randy is just in over his head with just too many things. And Jeremy needed to hire a law firm that was specific to civil rights cases. Yeah, exactly. They're not knowing the truth. I had two people in my comment was like, and I asked one person to elaborate, and the other person came back and said, "You're the only person calling it federal." And it was like, and then someone said, "Well, the appeal will be federal." I was like, the whole fucking case is federal. The whole case is federal. However, we are done talking about this today. We will get into all of the exhibits because we have 12 pages of exhibits, and we will get into the documents later on all the hyperlinks and stuff like that later. I just can't talk anymore because it's been 2 hours and 27 minutes and your girl has a sore throat. So we got to go. I'm going to see who is live right now that we can redirect to because I always like sharing the wealth. But I am going to. But thank you for the 38 people who have hit the like button. You guys are awesome. You guys are awesome. Let's go. Customization. Redirect. Who is live? Anybody got anybody who's live? Flux is live. Project Zomboid. Yeah, we're not doing that. All right. So, Flux is live. Maybe? Nope, this is December 22nd at 10:19. She's still live? Oh my goodness. All right. You guys have a great day. Rewatch your stuff from yesterday. Any dislikes? No, not today. I have some honey. I've been fighting this all month, but it finally kicked my butt yesterday or today. But y'all have a great rest of the day. Thanks for hanging out with me. I appreciate y'all. Go tell Flux that I said hi and I love her. And y'all have a great night. Bye, guys.